Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Mukam karoti vatsal pungam mangayate giram. Yat kripatamaham vande Shri Gurum Vinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. So a warm welcome to all the devotees for this Sunday session on the path of Gita. Today we will cover chapter 17, and tomorrow we'll conclude the 18-day session, hopefully, with the 18th chapter. So today is a very special day, and tomorrow is also an equally special day. Today is the appearance day of Lord Varahadev, and it is called Varaha Dwadasi. I'm sure many of you may know about this pastime, about Varahadev, but just for the sake of purification of our consciousness and our hearts, we can just briefly look at this pastime. So there were two brothers, Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. They were both considered to be asuras. You know, in yesterday's chapter, we were talking about divine qualities and demoniac qualities. So these two brothers demonstrated the demoniac qualities that were present in them. So they were born to the sage Kashyapa Muni, and their mother was Diti. So Aditi was also married to Kashyapa Muni, and Aditi is the mother of the Devatas. Diti becomes the mother of the Asuras. So these two brothers, Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha, they had uncommon bodily features. You know, they were like giants. They were well built. They were very tall. It is said that they were so tall, it seemed like the crowns on their head were actually touching the sky. And that while they walked, with every walk or with every step, Mother Earth would tremble. That's how powerful they were. So the younger brother, Hiranyaksha, it is said that he exploited gold. The word Hiranya means gold. So both of them had the prefix of Hiranya, meaning they both were addicted to wealth and power, etc. So he was so addicted to gold. It is said that he exploited gold from the earth. You know, gold is not found on the surface of the earth. You have to dig down deep, and find it. It's a rare. It's a rare element. That he dug for gold so much that he caused Mother Earth to spin out of orbit. And when Mother Earth span out of orbit, it then fell into the Garbhodakshaya ocean. And when it fell into the ocean, Lord Brahma was thinking, how am I supposed to bring it up? I do not know the technique to bring up the ocean, bring up one of the planets from the ocean. So since Mother Earth had been submerged in water, the Garbhodakshaya ocean, at that time, the Lord came in the form of a small boar out of the nostril of Lord Brahma. At this time, after the Lord came out of the nostril of Lord Brahma in the form of a small boar, it is said that he was just the size of the upper portion of the thumb. So that's how small the Lord was in the form of this boar, the Varaha. But as Lord Brahma was observing this Varaha, suddenly this boar just grew in size and became like a gigantic elephant. I mean, the size of a gigantic elephant. And then the boar starts roaring. And when the boar starts roaring, it sounded like, mountains were just collapsing. And this Varahadev was seen not just by Brahma, but also all of the Devatas. And they understood that this was an incarnation of Lord Krishna. And they began to offer their prayers. So Varahadev, Lord Varahadev, after flying into the sky, the hairs on his body were quivering, it says. Through his movement, the clouds were getting scattered in the sky. And he had these huge white tusks. So the boar, its sense of smell is very strong. So the Lord was searching for Mother Earth through his nostrils. Where was Mother Earth? So as he dives into the ocean, he split the ocean into two huge waves. And as he penetrates the water with his hooves, there he saw the earth, the resting place of all of the Jivatmas. And it was resting like as if it was the beginning of creation. So the Lord picks up Mother Earth on his tusks and lifts it out of the water. And it is said that the Lord was quite angry. So after he saves and rescues Mother Earth, he then goes after the demon Hiranyaksha. And a great battle ensues between the two of them in the water. So eventually Lord Varahadev kills Hiranyaksha, just like a lion kills an elephant. So the lion is smaller than an elephant, but it has the capacity to kill. So it is said that the cheeks and tongue and whiskers of the Lord became smeared with the blood of Hiranyaksha. And in this way, Bhumi Devi was rescued and returned to its rightful place. And at the same time, Hiranyaksha was also destroyed. And it is because of this, the death of his younger brother, then Hiranyakashipu takes a vow. I'm going to kill that person that caused my brother's death. And that's when he begins his tapas. And then, of course, from there comes the story and pastime of the greatest devotee, Prahlad Maharaj, and how Lord Nrsimhadev comes to rescue him. So Varahadev came to kill Hiranyaksha. Lord Nrsimha comes to kill Hiranyakashipu. So in this way, the Lord is always protecting his devotees. And as we discussed yesterday, in Kali Yuga, who is the Lord going to kill? Because the demon is within all of us. If he has to kill, he has to kill everybody. Actually, it is said that by the time Kalki comes, when Kalki avatar comes, there will be complete annihilation of Jivatmas. That millions and millions of Jivatmas are going to die when the Lord comes in his Kalki avatar. So, just to quickly review what we covered yesterday in the 16th chapter before we begin the 17th chapter today. The Lord describes 26 divine qualities. Fearlessness being one of them, exemplified by Prahlad Maharaj. The Lord also says that his devotees are not in the habit of finding faults. And we saw a couple of examples of what happens when you find faults. You accumulate a lot of karma. So the Lord talks about these 26 divine qualities of his devotees. And then he talks about the 6 qualities of demons, which is pride, anger, conceit, arrogance, harshness, and ignorance. And many of us may have one or more of these demoniac qualities in us. And the whole purpose of chanting the holy names of the Lord, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, is to actually get rid of these bad qualities in us. That's the whole purpose of chanting. And of course, by chanting, we also get rid of a lot of our past karmic reactions. Both punya and papa are getting destroyed. Of course, most of us would be worried about our sins and not about our pious deeds. But still, both of them keep us here in this material world. Therefore, Krishna is saying we have to try and develop these good qualities in us. But he also acknowledges that there will always be people, individuals, who don't have good qualities. And in Kali Yuga, all of us will have a combination of both qualities. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives us the best weapon. Here, the Lord doesn't use a weapon to kill the demoniac. He has established the Hare Krishna Mahamantra to help us kill the demoniac tendencies within ourselves by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So that's all it takes for us to reduce our demoniac qualities in ourselves. So in this way, the Lord is talking about the demoniac nature. What is their mood? What is their attitude? What is their belief systems, etc. And in today's chapter, which is the 17th chapter, it begins with Arjuna asking a specific question. Since Krishna has talked about the 3 gates to hell being lust, anger, and greed, and Krishna has talked about divine and demoniac qualities, and how everything is dictated by the 3 gunas. So it begins with Arjuna asking a question, what if people don't follow the scriptures? Because the 16th chapter concluded with the Lord saying, if you follow the scriptures, then you need not worry. Of course, if we do bhakti yoga also, we need not worry. So all the instructions in the Shastras must be followed. We cannot make our own rules. That's what Krishna is saying. So both Shruti and Smriti should be followed. So there was one person giving a pravachan on Ramayana. And usually the person sitting on the Vyasasan is looking at the audience, because he or she will make eye contact to see who's listening, who's nodding their head. Of course, on Zoom, nobody turns their video on, so it's very difficult for me to see who's actually enjoying the session or who's falling asleep. It's hard to figure out on Zoom. So anyway, this preacher was talking about Ramayana, and there was one individual sitting in the audience, shaking his head and smiling. It seemed like he was listening very intently. So after the Upanyas was over, the preacher asks this man, Acha, you were hearing very nicely. Do you have any doubts? He says, no, actually, everything that you said was very clear to me. But I have just one doubt. You mentioned two names, Rama and Ravana. Which one of them is evil? So after listening to whole Rama Katha, he didn't know who was evil. So the preacher just hit himself on his head and he said, neither one of them is evil. I'm the one who's evil because while I was talking about the Ramayana, I'm the stupid person because you couldn't understand who was evil after hearing the whole Katha. So, I'm the problem. I'm the one who's evil because I couldn't convey to you whether Lord Ram was evil or whether, Ravana was evil. So sometimes you listen to whole lecture and then you'll ask a question that has already been obviously answered. So essentially, the expectation is in the 16th chapter that we should not deviate from Shastra. So with that, we'll begin the 17th chapter. So in the 17th chapter, as I said, Arjuna asks a question. Okay, there may be some people who have faith. It may not be a clear dividing line in the sense that they're always following scriptures. There may be people who may be cooking up their own ways of faith. There may be people who are half following scriptures and half disobeying them. And there will be people who create things out of thin air and be following something. So Arjuna's question to Krishna is, okay, what about these people? How would you, he's essentially asking Krishna, how do you see these people? They're neither here nor there. They're hanging in between. So what's your assessment of them? Which means if we do whatever we want as per our desire, with or without scriptures in mind, then Arjuna's question is, such people, under which guna do they come under the influence of? Are they under the influence of Sattvagun, Rajagun, or Tamagun? Because it seems like they don't fall under any of these categories. So Krishna says actually everything should be viewed through the eyes of the three gunas. So it begins here in the first shloka. Arjuna uvacha ye shastra vidhim utsrujya yajante shraddhayanvitah tesham nishtha tuka Krishna sattvam aho rajastamah. Arjuna asked, O Krishna, what is the position of those who do not follow the scriptural injunctions but worship according to their own imagination? Are they in the mode of goodness, in the mode of passion, or in the mode of ignorance? So say, for example, the scriptures say you should fast, but they also give you rules for fasting and what days you should fast. For example, the most important fast for all of us will be Ekadashi. So many of us would have observed the Ekadasi Vrat yesterday and broken our fast today on Dwadasi. But some people fast on certain days of the week because they are trying to please a particular devata. I know because I've come across many people who will say, I fast every Monday, or I fast every Tuesday, or I fast every Friday. Is that there in the scripture? Or is it just some belief that they have, that they're following? So let us say somebody is fasting for a political reason. Is that authorized in the scripture? Can you fast for a political reason? Prabhupada says no. You cannot fast for a political reason. Fasting should be for spiritual growth. Fasting is meant for your spiritual progress. The Lord does not appreciate it if you fast and torture your body for some kind of material benefit. That is not something that is accepted in the Shastra. Okay? So let us say somebody really idolizes some great personality. I don't know, maybe Sachin Tendulkar or Hitler or whoever, Trump. Should he make a murti of that person, build a temple for that person and start worshipping them? Is that authorized in the scriptures? So there are some people who do this. But what if there are people who worship the devatas, but worship as per their own ways? They don't follow scripture at all. You know, in Bhagavatam, there's a beautiful pastimes of Lord Krishna lifting the Giriraj Govardhan, simply because the puja was stopped for Lord Indra. So there are designated ways in which you worship different demigods. But what if you are worshipping a demigod in your own way? You've just fashioned something and you decide, okay, this is the way I will worship. Is that authorized? So Arjuna's question is, I mean, what guna are these people under? Because it does not seem to be very clear. And the other question that Arjuna is asking, but it is not explicit, is, do these kind of worship succeed? Are they successful? Let's say I keep a fast for whatever it is that I want. Will I be successful? If I worship a devata but do not follow scriptures, will I be successful? So one is, what guna is influencing these people? And two is, will they actually succeed? Because after all, they're putting in some effort. Is it not? Are they not putting in some effort? They're practicing some austerity. They have some faith. They have some belief. Arjuna's question is, will they be successful? So to discover that answer, we have to come to the end of the chapter. But before that, in the third shloka, Krishna says, O son of Bharata, one is according to the various modes of nature, he develops a certain trust. According to his qualities, he is said to have a certain faith. So Krishna is saying, even your faith and beliefs are influenced by the three gunas. And then Krishna begins talking step by various aspects and things that we follow in life, how the gunas actually influence them. So faith is also influenced by the three gunas. We talked about different forms of worship, worship of the formless versus worship of the form of the Lord. How do you know you are worshipping the right way? Many of us do puja. We have a puja room, many photos, many deities maybe. How do you know you're worshipping properly? How will you know? Is that because you've learned from your parents, or you studied the scriptures and based on the scriptures you're doing the worship? So Krishna says you have to focus on the scriptures and worship according to the scriptures, or worship according to the instructions of the acharyas who have established processes even for deity worship at home. So, so one day, a newlywed couple come to the girl's house. So usually the first time the daughter arrives home after being married, Arati is taken. So it was time for Arati. So the daughter and son-in-law are standing outside the door, waiting for the mother to come and do the Arati. But she's having a small problem. There is one cat that is running around in the house, creating a disturbance. So they call out to the mother saying, "What is taking so long? Please come, you need to step into the house." She says, "Yes, yes. I had to put this cat in the basket. Therefore, I got delayed. So now I'm ready, we'll do the arati." So many years later, the daughter had children, the children grew up, and the children got married. And since she had seen her mother put the cat in the basket, she assumed that that was part of the worship. And she followed the same thing. When her son came over to the house for the first time with his wife, she also put a cat in the basket and then came and did the arati. Actually, there are pastimes like this even from scriptures. Like people observe something and think, oh, this is what is meant to be done. And therefore it is followed, So this is not the right way. You have to find out the right way of doing arati, find the right way of worshipping the deities, doing puja at home. This should be as per scriptures. That means even in this, you have to be trained. Because we don't know what all the scriptures say. So there is a paddhati, that has to be followed. So blind faith is not accepted by the Lord. Now, you may question me saying, but Mataji, you just said without faith, you can't move forward. Yeah, but faith is supported by Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. But concocting something on your own and not having it validated is not something that is accepted by the Lord. So, for example, if you don't know the rules and regulations, and if you violate it, the government will still arrest you. Your defense in front of the government cannot be, I did not know about this rule or regulation. The government will say, it's not our problem. That is your problem. You have to follow the law. If you have to follow the law, then you need to know what the law allows you to do and what the law forbids you from doing. Similarly, we have to follow the law. We can't say the law is too overwhelming, too complicated. How do I know whether what I'm doing is right or wrong? Well, it's too late after you're getting punished to discover that what you're doing was wrong. So now we're going to go through some slides very quickly to look at different aspects of faith, worship, food, charity, austerity, etc. So in each of the shlokas, Krishna talks about the three gunas and how it influences your faith and worship, how it influences what kind of foods you consume, etc., etc. So we're just going to quickly run through this. So how we worship and the food we eat is also influenced by the gunas. So for example, proper ways of worship is to follow the process established in the scriptures. So there is a designated process for worship of deities in the temples. But there is also a designated process of worship at home. The standards are not that high as they are in the temple, but definitely there are some standards that we have to follow. For example, how do you wake up the deities at home? How do you bathe them? How do you dress them? How do you offer bhoga to them? How do you put them to rest? How do you decorate them? There's so many different aspects. How do you worship them? So you could see a beautiful picture of Prabhupada, I think worshipping Radha Landaneshwara, if I'm not mistaken. I heard a beautiful pastime about these deities. Do you want to hear? So we're going to just take a short break to hear this sweet pastime. It is real. So it is not something. Deities, when you worship them very nicely, they interact with you and they reciprocate with you. So it is said that for some period of time, Prabhupada named the deities Radha Landaneshwara because they were established in London. For some time, it is said that the deities were not being offered bhoga properly, which is a huge offense against the deities. I heard this pastime this morning, so I'm very anxious to share that with you. So it is said that everybody noticed that the deities were very thin because they were not being offered. They were not being taken care of properly, especially when it came to bhoga offering. So after some time, the management changed. And whoever came into the deity kitchen, the management decided, because we were not able to take care of the deities properly for so many months, let's make sure that we please the deities by offering more. So what the devotee cook would do is, for several weeks, they were preparing 108 sweets and offering it to the Lord in the morning. And within 2 weeks, the devotees that were dressing the deities noticed that none of the dresses fit the deities anymore. The deities had gained weight. Literally, they had to stitch new sets of clothes for the deities. The deities always reciprocate. If you're taking care of the deities very nicely, the deities will always interact with those who are taking care of the deities. There was another pastime I heard this morning. Sorry, we were I had some cooking seva this morning in the kitchen, in the temple. And so we were just discussing some pastimes of the Lord. So there was one more Mataji who was taking care of Gaurnitai deities in Mayapur. They were small deities. But as she grew older and she had some health issues, she decided that it was better that somebody else who is responsible and can take care of the deities at home, she wanted to hand over the responsibilities. So she found a brahmachari and she handed over to the deities to the brahmachari and asked him to kindly take care of the deities so that the deities are not neglected. After a few years, this brahmachari it is said that he was in Vrindavan. After a few years, she regains her health and she goes to Vrindavan and she visits the deities that this brahmachari was taking care of. And the deities started crying and talking to her, saying, "Why have you given us over to this brahmachari? He's not taking care of us properly at all. We've lost weight. He doesn't know how to dress us. He doesn't give us adequate bhoga." So she was quite disturbed. She goes and asks the brahmachari, "Is there any problem? You're not able to take care of the deities properly?" So apparently this Mataji used to make a kesari every day, kesari, rava kesari, and feed the deities. So the deities tell the Mataji, "You please tell this brahmachari to simply increase the quantity of kesari he's giving." And he's giving very tiny quantity. So the brahmachari said, your deities are so small. It's so hard for me to take care of them. I'm not used to managing such small deities. And then she tells him, this is what the deities have told her. You please increase the quantity of Naivedya that is being offered. And he said, okay, I will do that. And within a few weeks, the deities were happy. So we should not neglect deity worship at all. The deities will not be very pleased with us. So we cannot take deity worship lightly, even at home. We have to treat them like as if they are the most important member of our family. Therefore, whatever you cook, you offer it to them with love and with devotion and with care. Then the deities are very pleased with you. Right? Do not neglect deity worship at home. There is a way in which you do it. Same thing, even with food, different types of food we consume, but depending on the gunas that are influencing us. Similarly, when it comes to the rituals, the conduct, and the speech, these are also influenced by the three gunas. What kind of rituals you perform, who performs these rituals, and who is under the influence of which guna, how do we behave ourselves with others, what's the quality of our speech, all of this is influenced by the three gunas. Similarly, whether we are able to control our mind or not, and what kind of charity we engage in, this is also influenced by the three gunas. So we just talked about Diti and Aditi, right? Aditi being the mother of the Devatas and Diti being the mother of the Asuras. So two sisters married to Kashyapa Muni. Similarly, we have these three brothers here, Vibhishana, Ravana, and Kumbhakarna. One family, three people, three different gunas. So Vibhishana was able to discriminate between right and wrong. He gave up all bodily attachments to his family. He was always worshipping Lord Ram, and he was always chanting the holy names of Lord Ram even before he meets him. So Ravana, on the other hand, had intense greed. His desire for acquiring more and more was unlimited. But everything he did was for himself. He performed so many austerities so that he could gain more power and more control. Kumbhakarna, unlimited eating, unlimited sleeping. So these are the choices that we make. So Vibhishana is under the influence of Sattvagun, you could say Shuddha Sattvagun, because he was the devotee of the Lord. Ravana was under the influence of Rajagun, predominantly. And Kumbhakarna was under the influence of Tamoguna. And you see the different natures, the different personalities, the different characteristics. So even within a single family, born of the same parents, children may have different types of attitude, behavior, belief systems, etc. That is because they're carrying things from their past lives. And also, the gunas are strongly controlling them. So essentially, we are the sum total of every single choice that we make in our life. So let us look at how the three gunas influence our various lifestyles. So how to come to the higher stage with this, which is the Shuddha Sattva state? Krishna has already said that, right? He said that we have to do bhakti to Lord Krishna to cross over the influence of the three gunas. And it is as easy to go back to Krishna simply by becoming his devotee. So we have a lot of choices that we can make in life. And we have to be careful about these choices because the gunas dictate your choices. So if you're not assessing your decisions and asking yourself, why am I feeling the way that I'm feeling? And why am I about to make the decision that I'm about to make? What is trying to control me? So the best book for us is actually the Bhagavad Gita. It's the book for self-improvement. And it clearly says that we are not the supreme controller, but still we can shape our destiny. That is what the Lord is saying ultimately here. So let us look at faith and worship. So Krishna says those who are under the influence of Sattvagun, they have a tendency to worship the Devatas. Those who are under the influence of Tamogun have a tendency to worship ghosts and spirits. And those who are under the influence of Rajagun have a tendency to worship others who are demoniac in nature. Right? But the ultimate worship for us is to worship Shri Radha Krishna or Krishna Balaram, because this is worship in the Shuddha Sattva state. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said that wherever there is Krishna, there is no Yamaraj. So there is this nice pastime of this one man, his profession was to chop wood and sell wood. And it was written in his horoscope that he will die by snake bite. And one day he was chopping woods and he comes across, that is the day he was supposed to be bitten by the snake. So he comes across a tulsi plant growing near his woodshed. So he pots the plant and he decides, I will go and offer it in the temple. But then because he is of a caste that may not be allowed to enter the temple, he decides he will hand it over to somebody who can then go and offer it to the deity. So this way he's got some wood in his hand and he's got this tulsi plant in his hand and the snake is following him. The snake cannot attack you if you have a tulsi plant in your hand. So he goes in front of the temple and he asks somebody, can you please offer this tulsi to Lord Krishna? And the devotee says, why don't you go inside and offer it yourself? So he goes inside to offer the tulsi plant to the Lord. And because he was holding the tulsi plant, the snake could not kill him. So the snake was chasing him and the Sudarshan Chakra was chasing the snake. So the Sudarshan Chakra cuts off the head of the snake. The man was rescued in this way. So only to say that the Lord is always protecting his devotees, no matter what. So the Lord gives us many chances to do bhakti in life, but we don't always make use of that opportunity. But the ultimate form of worship is to worship Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So sometimes we say, my dear Lord, please give me a longer life. I can correct myself. I will change. I promise, I promise, I promise. Many times we come across hardships and the Lord would have saved us or helped us. And we would have made all kinds of promises to the Lord. If you do this for me, I will do that for you. And I will never, never, ever. But pretty soon we forget because we get engrossed in our life. But when we take shelter of Krishna, we can change our karma. What about food? Krishna says, those who are under the influence of Sattva Guna, what kind of foods do they tend to like and tend to eat? Things that are fresh, they're wholesome, they're juicy, it is very pleasing for the palate. And Krishna also says, if you consume this kind of food, what is the result? It will purify you and you can live a long life. You will be disease-free, Krishna says. You'll be able to build your strength, resilience, and you'll be happy. So what kind of foods are these? It will be fresh fruits, vegetables, simple meals, nothing extravagant. These things will please and be able to help your body. What about those who are under the influence of Rajagun? Krishna says they have a tendency to eat foods that are either too bitter or too sour or too hot or too pungent, or they are burning to the mouth. And Krishna says if you eat this kind of food, Krishna says it will give you diseases, you will be miserable, and you will be put into a lot of distress. So essentially, these kind of foods make you even more rajasic. What does Krishna say about foods consumed by those under the influence of tamogun? Krishna says the food is tasteless. That the food has spoiled or it is decomposing, and foods that are untouchable. And Krishna says the result of eating such food is you will get infections, you'll get diseases. It contaminates your consciousness. It prevents you from performing bhakti. And it leads to early death. So, foods are also an important part of our day-to-day life. So, as much as possible, our foods should be very simple, sattvic, fresh, freshly prepared. Krishna also says, foods that are more than 3 hours old, they're already decomposed. So the cooked food deteriorates very quickly. The exceptions are there, like deep fried foods may last for a longer time. But other than that, foods that you prepare decomposes very quickly when they are cooked. So for example, if you keep some fresh apple on the table, it'll take some time before it shrivels up and becomes distasteful. But that same apple, if you cut it into pieces and cook it and leave it outside, within a few hours and within a day, it would be spoiled. So cooked foods decompose faster. That's why fresh foods are better. Fresh fruits, fresh vegetables, better for your health. Cooked foods you should consume within a certain time frame. However, anything that you offer to the Lord as Naivedya will always be in the Shuddha Sattva category. So, it is best that whatever we consume, we offer it to the Lord before we consume it. So this is Shuddha Sattva Bhoga being offered to the Lord. So since the Lord has accepted it, it is pure. So prasadam is the best food for you. It can be cooked, it can be deep fried, it can be sweet, it can be a little spicy. So whatever the Lord has accepted, that is the best kind of food for us. Why? Because it's spiritual. Because you're honoring prasadam, it is no longer material. The most important thing about food is how it influences your consciousness. And let us look at what happens to one particular personality. So there was one Muni who goes to a Raja's palace. And the Raja says, please honor prasadam. It's a great honor for us that pure personality like you is visiting us. It's just a culture. If somebody comes to your house, you want to offer them something nice to eat. It's just culture. The Muni says, no. I cannot, I do not wish to accept anything. Please forgive me, I don't want to. But the Raja says, no, you are my guest. How can I let you go without even consuming some prasadam or whatever it is? So the Raja had prepared a feast and he feeds this Muni that feast. The Muni is so overwhelmed with what he has eaten that he falls asleep. It was too much for him. So he takes rest in the palace that day. The next day morning, he leaves. But as he is walking through the palace, he sees some beautiful necklaces, jewelry, hanging there. He just picks it up, puts it in his japa bag and leaves the palace and goes back home. When the king finds out that jewelry is missing, he immediately makes a public order that whoever has stolen the jewelry will be put to death. So when the Muni reaches home, he starts vomiting and he has diarrhea. So whatever food he has eaten in the palace has all come out of him. He rested that day. The following morning, he was thinking, how could I have stolen jewelry from the palace? And then he hears that there is an order for a death sentence for whoever has stolen the jewelry. So he decides the right thing to do is to go back and tell the king that he had stolen the jewelry and please forgive him and to return it. So he goes. So he goes to the king and he tells him, see, I was the one who stole the jewelry. And the king says, no. How can I believe that you stole the jewelry? You're such a great personality. You're so pure. How could you have done this? No. I think somebody else stole it. You are just trying to, take the punishment on his or her behalf. I'm convinced that there's no way you would have stolen this. The Muni is saying, no, I'm telling you I stole it. Now, first of all, I committed one sin of stealing. Now you are thinking I'm committing another sin of lying. I'm telling you, I only took the jewelry. So the king asks him, Why? What happened? And the Muni says, you offered me a feast yesterday. This feast was cooked by people who are not in the right mood. And because I consumed what they had cooked, it impacted my consciousness. And without me being even aware of it, I picked up the jewelry from your palace. So this is the power of how foods influence you. I know it is very difficult to follow this very strictly, but since we talked about this past time, I have to mention, be careful what you eat, whose preparations you eat, and where you eat. Very, very subtly, whoever has cooked, if they are not in the right consciousness, it will impact you. You will not even be aware of it. This is a drastic case. Those who are eating only sattvic food and they are only eating their home cooked preparations, they are offering it to the Lord and then they are honoring it at prasadam. If you are in the habit of having only prasadam every day, if you only honor prasadam, suddenly if you go to someone's house and eat what they are cooking, and if they have not made it for the Lord, and if they have not offered it to the Lord, it will impact your consciousness. And your sadhana will be disturbed that day and the following day. So only people who have been practicing honoring prasadam every day will feel this impact immediately. So we have to be careful where we eat, what we eat, and who's the cook. Because if we don't know who's the cook and what is their mood, it will impact your consciousness. So as much as possible, we should avoid eating in hotels. As much as possible. Because those items are prepared for a commercial profit. They are not prepared and offered to the Lord. Of course, in emergency situations, it's okay. But otherwise, what kind of foods you eat is also under your control. So therefore, prasadam is the best food. Food that is offered to the Lord is sanctified. It is pure. What about sacrifices? Krishna says, when you perform sacrifices, it should be as per the scriptures. You cannot just make up whatever you want. Secondly, sacrifices, Krishna says, must be performed as a matter of duty. And when you perform sacrifices, you should not expect any reward in return. You should do it because it is meant to be done, and you should do it as per the scriptures. So that is what doing sacrifices under the mode of Sattvagun means. Under Rajagun, you are doing sacrifices because you want some material benefit. Or you want people to look at you and see, oh, what great, sacrifices you are doing. And people will recognize you and notice you for keeping all this tapas. So no sacrifices should be done for material benefit. If it is done for material benefit, then you are under the influence of Rajagun. What about sacrifices or yajnas? We are talking about yajnas here. What about yajnas being done under the mode of tamogun? Krishna says they don't follow scriptures at all. Second thing, they don't distribute prasadam after the yajna. They don't chant Vedic hymns. And they may not even remunerate the priest. So this is sacrifices or yajnas being performed under the influence of tamogun. But the best kind of sacrifice for us in Kali Yuga is yajnanam japa yajñosmi, Krishna says. The best yajna to perform is chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. That is the only sacrifice that is needed for you in Kali Yuga. You don't have to perform any other fire sacrifice. Ravana one day visits Vibhishana's house and he sees Rama, 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 Rama written all over on the walls of Vibhishana's house. So Ravana gets very upset. He says, who is this Rama and why is his name all over your walls? I'll kill you, I'll destroy you, etc. Vibhishana, with a great deal of intelligence, says, actually, RA is for your first name, Ravana. Mandodari, MA. Your name only, I'm worshipping only you and my sister-in-law, your beautiful wife. And that's why I put Rama, 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 Rama. As hearing this, Ravana was very pleased. He said, yes, excellent, you are a great man. You are worshipping me. So the power of the holy names of the Lord. Vibhishana was always chanting the names of Lord Ram. Similarly, Sita Devi in Ashoka Vatika was also chanting the holy names of Lord Ram. So when Hanuman goes on the spree of lighting up Lanka, Vibhishana's house was protected, Ashoka Vatika was protected. So wherever the holy names of the Lord are chanted, you will be protected, no doubt about it. Right? What about our conduct? So Krishna talks about respect being offered and worship being performed as a matter of duty. Whereas sometimes we respect others because we have selfish motives. And we also desire self-glorification. And then self-torture to get power to destroy others. So you could say this is austerities. Austerities that you keep. That also Krishna says must be done as a matter of duty. But austerities for selfish motives, like Ravana performing tapas or Hiranyakashipu performing tapas, this is all under the influence of Rajagun. And of course, self-torture to get power to destroy others, that is not at all accepted. Yeah. Then Krishna talks about speech. Under the influence of Sattva Gun, your speech will be truthful, it will be pleasing, it will be beneficial. This is Brahmanical quality speech. Speech under the modes of passion, such speech tends to be very manipulative, very political, perhaps engaging in gossip, and really to fulfill and satisfy everyone's selfish needs. And speech under the mode of ignorance. Such speech involves lying. Such speech agitates the minds of others, and it also harms others. So Satyam, Priyam, Hitam should be the qualities of speech. Satyam meaning truthfulness. Priyam meaning pleasing. Hitam meaning whatever we speak should be for the benefit of the others. So honesty is very important in speech. So what about your mind? A mind that is satisfied and content is a mind that is under the influence of Sattva. A mind that is always agitated, anxious, not satisfied is under the influence of Rajagun. And a mind that is confused, bewildered, is not able to distinguish between right and wrong, then such a mind is under the influence of Mogun. And what about dana or charity? Krishna says that when you do charity, you have to do it out of a sense of duty. You should not expect anything in return. It should be done at a suitable place, at a suitable time, and it should be offered to a person who is qualified to receive it. On the extreme opposite side, charity under the influence of Tamogun It is done in an impure place at an inappropriate time, and it is offered to an unqualified person. Under the influence of Rajagun, you're doing charity because you want something in return. You're doing it for the sake of enjoying yourself. And sometimes Krishna says you may also do it unwillingly, simply because somebody forced you to do it, or you felt compelled to do it. Then such kind of charity is under the mode of passion. Yeah. So if you look at charity, you can think about charity in different ways, right? One is offering your earnings. Many people like to do annadan because there are so many people who are suffering. They do not have nutritious meals every day. Across the globe, you go to any country, majority of the countries have this hunger problem, with some of the citizens not being able to afford food. So let us say we offer food once. We do annadan, right? Okay, so after a few hours, those jivatmas are hungry again. So unless somebody is supplying them with food every day, okay, you're charitable, you offer them food one day, maybe one meal. What about the rest of the time? What happens? Who takes care of them then? Then you may think, okay, better than me feeding them, let me see if I can get them a job. So maybe if they can get a good paying job, then they can sustain themselves better. Okay, so let's say you found them a job. Does that mean their sufferings have stopped? Sufferings do not stop just because you have a job. Sufferings keep coming. But let's say you teach them how to perform bhakti, provided some of their basic needs are met and taken care of. But if I teach them how to perform bhakti, then they don't take birth again. So the Shastras say that the highest form of charity is to give someone Krishna consciousness. How do you do that? There are different ways. You can invite them to come and attend classes. You can bring them to the temple. You can take prasadam to their home if they're not keeping well. So the best form of charity we can give is to introduce others to Krishna consciousness, and for you yourself to be practicing Krishna consciousness and making advancement in Krishna consciousness, because this will be the best outcome for all of us. Because Krishna has already assured us multiple times that he is always there for his devotees. He will always take care of them. So this is the best of all charities, right? So you can use your Lakshmi to feed prasadam to those who are hungry. Probably even to engage them in work in service of Krishna. Even that is very, very purifying for that particular jivatma. So there is a saying, Krishna does not see what we give. He sees what we are not giving and what we are hiding and holding back. Therefore, any and all of your resources, if we are utilizing it to fulfill the Lord's purpose, then that is the best kind of charity we can perform. So if you're good at preaching, you should try and preach. If you're good at cooking, then you should see how you can cook for Krishna. If you're good at making garlands, then you should see how you'll go to the temple and make garlands for Krishna. I came across a young girl yesterday who is a designer of baby dresses. And she was asking, can she do some seva for her deities? I said, absolutely, you can do some seva. You want to stitch clothes for our deities, imagine doing that as a seva. So there are so many different ways in which you can do seva. Let's say you're a doctor. Maybe you can hold a free clinic once a week in the temple. So many different ways in which we can touch the lives of others in a Krishna conscious way. So we already read this yesterday. Krite yadhyayato vishnum tretayam yajato makhai dwapare paricharyayam kalau tadhari kirtanat. Whatever result was obtained in Satya Yuga by meditating on Vishnu, in Treta Yuga by performing sacrifices, and in Dwapara Yuga by serving the Lord's lotus feet, can be obtained in Kali Yuga simply by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So you can achieve the ultimate goal of life simply by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare. There is another shloka from Srimad Bhagavatam, the first canto, first chapter, the 14th shloka. Apanna samsritam ghoram yannama vivasho grinan tatah sadhyo vimuccheta yad bibheti swayam bhayam. Living beings who are entangled in the complicated meshes of birth and death can be freed immediately by even unconsciously chanting the holy name of Krishna, which is feared by fear personified. So even accidentally, if you chant the holy names of the Lord, still the Lord will give you all benefits. So chanting is very, very important for us. Two things, if we can emphasize over these 18-day classes that we have taken: chanting and prasadam. These are two personal things that you should take care of as priority. Chanting and making sure you're honoring prasadam, you're offering bhoga to the Lord. Don't think, I will only offer a little bit of 1 cup of milk, some kishmish or something to the Lord. If he's a member of your family, shouldn't you be feeding him properly? Especially after the 2 past times we heard about deities in the temple and deities that were being worshipped personally. The deities also experience pain because they are your family member if you disregard them and don't take care of them. That's not very nice. So we can make the Hare Krishna Mahamantra our lifeline. So we're coming towards the end of this chapter. So how does Krishna conclude this particular chapter? So he's talked about the 3 gunas and how the 3 gunas influence your faith, your worship, your food, your conduct, your austerity, your mind, your charity. For many shlokas, Krishna has talked about the 3 gunas and how they influence you. Just in response to Arjuna's question about what is the nature of those who don't have faith in the scriptures, but they have faith in something else. So what about them? Krishna concludes this chapter by talking about Om Tat Sat. So the 23rd shloka, Krishna says, Om Tat Sat iti nirdeshaha brahmanas trividhas smritaha brahmanastena vedascha yajñascha vihitah pura. From the beginning of creation, the 3 words Om Tat Sat were used to indicate the supreme absolute truth. These 3 symbolic representations were used by Brahmanas while chanting the hymns of the Vedas and during the sacrifices for the satisfaction of the Supreme. So it is said no worship and no yajna is complete unless this Om Tat Sat is uttered. So that is what Krishna is saying. So Brahmanas recite this Om Tat Sat whenever pious activities are being performed, because then you will get the benefits. But there are so many mantras. Are we allowed to chant any mantra that we like, or we've memorized, or we heard on YouTube? The answer is no, because many mantras have restrictions. Some mantras have to be given to you by your guru in order for you to chant it. Some mantras can only be chanted by Brahmins. But the Hare Krishna Mahamantra can be chanted by anybody. There are no restrictions. So one day, a king, he approaches a Brahmana and he says, you teach me some mantras. He approaches a Muni. And the Muni says, no, I can't teach you these mantras. But the Raja gets very adamant. He says, no, you have to teach me. I want to learn. Because I want to experience the impact of these mantras. So the Muni says, I'm telling you, there are certain mantras I cannot teach you. The Raja is insisting, no, you have to teach me. It's my command. I'm commanding you to teach me. So the Muni gets very upset. He looks at the Raja's servants and he tells them, please arrest this king right away. Because he's asked me to do something that is obnoxious, which cannot be done, should not be done. And the Raja is so shocked and surprised. How dare this Muni ask my own people to arrest me? And he starts laughing. He's saying, are you mad or what? They are my people. They will not arrest me. So the Muni said, then you understand, right? I spoke the words, arrest the king. It didn't have any impact on your servants. So the Raja said, arrest this Muni because he's talking some nonsense. And the king's servants immediately arrested the Muni. And the Muni said, see, when you spoke the words, it had impact. They followed your instruction. But when I spoke the same words to arrest you, they disregarded it. So similarly, even when it comes to mantras, some mantras are supposed to be uttered only by Brahmanas. Then it will have impact. If it is uttered by anybody else, it will not have impact. So the king understood. But even if he wants to memorize the mantras, it will have no impact. Because it is meant to be uttered by Brahmanas. So some mantras are restricted. Not everybody can utter the mantra, especially the Gayatri mantras. It has to be given to you by Guru. And Brahmanas are supposed to chant the Gayatri. So in this simple example, we can see that there are so many mantras, but they have restrictions, they have rules. Mantras we are talking about. Nama jap anybody can do. So that is why the Hare Krishna Mahamantra is considered to be the topmost mantra. And it has no rules or restrictions. So anyone can do. Even Kumbhakarna wanted to take on Indra's role. And the Devatas got so anxious, they asked Lord Brahma to intervene, and Lord Brahma said, I cannot intervene. If he chants the mantra properly, I have to grant him the boon. So the Devatas are so anxious, they approach Saraswati Devi. So when Kumbhakarna is reciting the mantras, instead of saying Indra, he says Nidra. And therefore the whole result itself changes, you see. So even mantras, if you recite even one word incorrectly, it can change the result. So we shouldn't risk reciting mantras that we don't know much about and Guru has not taught you. So what is this Om Tat Sat? The word Om means it's a reference to Lord Vishnu. By invoking the word Om, we are remembering Lord Vishnu. What does the word Tat mean? Tat describes that whatever we are offering without attachment to whatever it is that we are offering to the Lord. And that we are offering for our own liberation. That is what the word Tat means. What does Sat mean? Whatever it is that we are doing in service to the Lord, it is for His satisfaction and His devotees' satisfaction. And therefore, Om Tat Sat is used in many, many yajnas and many rituals to say, my dear Lord, we are remembering you, and everything that we're doing, it's for your pleasure, for your satisfaction. Everything that we are giving is without any attachment because you are the ultimate owner. So this is really what Om Tat Sat means. So now Krishna has talked about faith and worship under the influence of the three gunas, even if that faith and worship is not based on scriptures. So what is Krishna's conclusion? So Krishna says, Ashwadhaya hutam dattam tapastaptam kritam chayat asad ityuchyate partha nachattat pretya no iha. Anything done as sacrifice, charity or penance without faith in the Supreme, O son of Pritha, is impermanent. It is called asat and is useless both in this life and the next. So Krishna's concluding words in the 17th chapter is that in response to Arjuna's question, what about those who don't have faith and do whatever it is that they want to do? Are they successful? And what's Krishna's response? Whatever success they get, it is not permanent. It is actually asat. And because it is not permanent, it is certainly not useful for them, not in this life, not in the next. So, in other words, Krishna is saying, if you don't follow scriptures strictly, then whatever it is that you're doing has no use, has no benefit. So it's a very strong statement by Krishna here. So if charity, sacrifices, and austerities that you keep without faith in Krishna, in the sense, if you don't believe that Krishna is the Supreme Lord and you're doing all kinds of rituals, Krishna says it's useless. It will not produce the results. And if it does give you results, it is going to be temporary. Right? So this concludes the 17th chapter. And the 18th chapter is a lengthy chapter. It has 78 shlokas. So we have a lot to cover tomorrow. So it begins with a summary of Karma Yoga. Then it goes again to the three gunas. Krishna is going to give us even more examples of how the gunas influence us. Krishna will also talk about who is an ideal worker. And of course, Krishna concludes with the topmost message of the Bhagavad Gita is pure love for the Supreme Lord. So much so you don't care about anything except Krishna. Nothing else matters to you in your life except Krishna. And then Sanjaya concludes by talking about the benefits of whoever is hearing this conversation repeatedly between the Lord and Arjuna. And so wherever there is Krishna and wherever there is Arjuna, there is going to be victory, prosperity, and everything else. That's what Arjuna says. So with that, we've come to the conclusion of our 17th chapter. I have a quick poll for you. We talked about the 21-day challenge. We will post that in the groups shortly. But just a quick poll to see how many of you are ready and are planning to join us every day morning for our 21-day challenge, which will begin hopefully on Tuesday. Yes, so the poll is out. You can just take a quick look. What is this 21-day challenge we're talking about? we'd like you to make a commitment to chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, at least 2 rounds for those who are new to it. Join us for some Sloka recitation, maybe a little bit of Hari Katha. And on Sunday evenings, join us for Bhagavatam classes. So that's the 21-day commitment that we'd like to see all of you take. We'll share this in all the groups so that you can register for it, this 21-day challenge. And may your Krishna conscious life begin on this very auspicious day of Dwadasi. I mentioned that tomorrow is also an auspicious day. It is the appearance day of Lord Nityananda Ram, the Kaliyug avatar of Lord Balaram. So maybe if we have time tomorrow, we can talk about Lord Nityananda Prabhu and his position before we start chapter 18. Yeah. So please take the poll quickly. So I want to really encourage you to come early morning to do the chanting. The earlier you come, the better it'll be for you. So in the meantime, are there any questions on this chapter? You can raise your hands or put your questions in the chat. What are ghosts and spirits, and do they exist? Yes, they do exist. There are some people who perform black arts. What do you call it? Yeah, worship of demons and ghosts and spirits, etc. Yeah, it is there.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Mataji, I heard from the 17th chapter in another Bhagavad Gita class. If somebody eats non-veg, no, if it is henna, we'll get how many eggs are then up the, that time, that's many times we'll get a henna janma. Is this correct, Mataji?
So what you heard is?
If we eat chicken, no, we'll get how many heads are there to the henna? Or that time, that's many times we'll get henna janma.
Yes, that's what the Shastras say. If we kill another animal just so that we can consume its meat, then you have to take birth that many times as there are hair on the body of that animal. Yeah, our Shastras do say that. Yes.
Mataji, is there any particular sloka regarding that in Bhagavad Gita?
In Bhagavad Gita, no.
Okay, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Does the ingredients, mainly onion and garlic, in the food we offer Krishna matter? Yes, ingredients that you offer to Krishna matters. Krishna does not accept onion and garlic because they are not sattvic. They don't fall under the sattvic category. So if at all you're offering Krishna bhoga or naivedya, it has to be sattvic. So sattvic means no onion, no garlic. It also means no mushroom. So mushrooms are not offered to Krishna. There may be other categories that different followers may not offer, for various reasons. So yes, onion and garlic unfortunately cannot be offered to Krishna. I would say you can make very tasty food without onion and garlic. It tastes far better without onion and without garlic, in my opinion. It's very easy to do. No difficulty at all. No difficulty at all. There is so much variety of foods you can prepare without onion and garlic. Somehow, we've just convinced ourselves that without onion and garlic, my life is not complete. I don't know why that is. So it's very easy to give up, actually. So yeah, you offer, don't be stingy with Krishna here. I mean, what is this, just offering him one glass of milk and some kismis or something like that? If he's a member of your family, shouldn't you take care of him nicely? So yes, just like you consume rice, dal, whatever, sabji, fruits, everything should be offered to Krishna. Why should we have a separate menu for Krishna? What, you put him on a diet or something? So anyway, see, what is it that you're expressing? You are expressing your love for Krishna by cooking for him. No? We want to cook for Krishna. And by cooking, we are expressing our love for our family member. So how can we say, I will only offer him fruits and some milk or something like that? That's not very nice. Is deity worship when we keep any... Okay, one second. When we keep any bhav, serving the Lord with love and devotion is more important, or following scriptures and worshipping is more important? Following, in the beginning, sadhana bhakti is important. We should never think that we are such pure devotees, we are already in that bhava stage, where we are so pure that we are able to offer the Lord something that we have chewed and made sure it is sweet. So, for us, we have to follow Acharya's instructions. How can we certify ourselves to be pure devotees? We cannot. So we have to follow Acharya's instructions. So if they say, first sadhana bhakti is important. So the most important criteria is the ability to follow instructions. That is why it's called disciple. So it is very important to do sadhana bhakti first. And yes, after you are completely purified, you will be in the stage of bhava, where you can do anything and everything that you want with the Lord, provided that purity is there. So generally for ourselves, assessing ourselves, we will never say we are in that pure state of mind, because that would be quite delusional. And it may actually be harmful for your spiritual growth. Yeah. Can we offer delicious but spicy food to Krishna? It depends. Is Krishna a baby in your house, or I don't know, what is he? In our temple, Krishna is just 7 or 8 years old. So we try to make sure our food, that whatever we offer him is not too spicy. See, anything that you offer Krishna, if you make out of love, Krishna will accept. Right? But the mood is that, what does the Lord like? Whatever the Lord likes is what you give. In the sense, when you're cooking, you are no longer cooking for yourself and for your taste buds. You're cooking for Krishna and his taste buds. Turmeric and neem are bitter and good for health. And how yeah, there are certain plants that are medicinal in nature. Yes, you can accept it. There are many pastimes of Lord Jagannath in Odisha. There was one Landi Mata. Because Jagannath eats 6 times a day chappan bhog. 6 times a day he has chappan bhog in Puri Jagannath. Imagine having 56 items 6 times a day. So there was one elderly lady, and Lord Jagannath came in her dream and said, before our hands are dried, the next set of food, Naivedya has come. And they told this lady, my stomach is really hurting. Please do something. They're giving us so much bhoga. How can we keep eating all the bhoga all the time like this? So that lady came to the temple, the elderly lady, and she talks to the priest and she says, see, the Lord came in my dream. He's getting an upset stomach and he wants this, this kashaya, this bitter kashaya, to help him overcome his upset stomach. And the priest rejected her. They said, oh, what nonsense, Who are you to come and tell us what to give the Lord? So anyway, the pastime goes that the next day she comes quietly, because even the next day the Lord comes in her dream and he says, see, I'm really suffering. Please do something about it. Please help me. So she makes the kashaya and she goes and offers it to the Lord without the knowledge of the priests. Eventually, the priests realized that the Lord indeed was having issues with his stomach. And so now they give this kashaya, which is bitter, to the Lord. I don't know if they do it daily or frequently, or I don't know what is the thing. But yes, even bitter things can be offered to the Lord. But it cannot be too bitter. Everything has to be balanced. And the Lord accepts what you offer him with love. I was not aware that turmeric is bitter. Definitely neem is bitter, I know. Turmeric is good for health. Neem is good for health. But how much neem will you have? Small quantity, right? So when you're offering Krishna on his bhoga plate, you're not only going to have neem, correct? If at all you prepare something with neem. You will have many other nice items. You'll have deep fried items. You will have sweets. So it becomes balanced, correct? So if your question is, I have a tendency to prepare spicy food and I'm offering it to Krishna. The minute Krishna has accepted it, is already pure. So you need not worry about it, if that's your question. Yes, if you've offered it to the Lord, then it becomes prasadam. Quiz, we will give you a few more days after the 18th chapter. You can complete all the quizzes for all the chapters. No problem. Okay. All right. Any other questions? Is it okay for truthful speech to sometimes seem harsh? No. Krishna has said Satyam Priyam Hitam. When you speak the truth, it should be pleasing. And it should be beneficial. So we should focus on improving the way we communicate. It is difficult because we are used to communicating in a certain way, in a certain tone of voice, with a certain attitude. So we can try to change it the best we can. I don't see any other questions. So we'll meet you tomorrow, hopefully. Yes. Vancha kalpadarupyascha kripasindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Gurudev ki jai, Shri Shri Gaur ki jai. Thank you very much, devotees. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna,
Mataji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.